I went from Crawley's to different stores to get my degree and to do what I have to do. So when I did what I did, I just floated right on. I still couldn't get what I wanted. But I got something. And what happens is when you do your best, it comes to you. So when I began to develop more, I became a painter, and I exhibited in different galleries. And when that happened, I flushed. My mind went different ways, and I went commercial art, and people were receiving me, and I was glad of it. But this was just part of it. It goes on and on and on. So I just wanted to say to you that it wasn't easy. It was not easy at all. I went from state to state, city to city, beautiful for whatever you want to call it. Also, I was with the Contemporary Art Studio in Detroit, and that where I hit my pinnacle. Is there any questions? I can talk on and on and on and on. Is there any questions or comments anybody wants to inject, suggest?
Anyone with any questions? Anyone?
I can speak right now. Oh, no, speak in here. Okay.
Yeah, sir, I'd just like to comment on your use. I'd like to comment on your use of the colors. And can you comment to me? He wants to comment on the use of the colors in your work.
Television?
Colors. The colors in your work.
Oh, well, look, that comes easy, man. What happens is that when you start and you see how the colors come out, it falls into place. I mean, there's no problem there. Now, if you want to say that what makes my colors work, well, it's just a matter of placing yellows and greens and blues together to make them look good. See, and that's the way it works. So is it something that when you say make my colors work, see, it's easy. That's the easiest part about developing art, is to be know that one color works with another.
Did you have a second question?
Yeah, I think really is that in every art that I've seen, there's the strength of the color red. It pops out to me. Is there something specific about that red color, sir?
You mean that lady back there with the red hat on?
All of your paintings. He said he notices red in a lot of your paintings.
It like steps out at you. Did you notice it?
The way that works is that these colors blend in together. They fall together, and they seem to develop together. In other words, I have no problem. All I have to do is take a paintbrush and do it like this, this, and this, and that's not it.
Any other questions?
Were you an illustrator for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution If not, what publication, and what was that experience like early on in your career?
If I didn't have experience with the London Constitution, what would happen?
Were you an illustrator, a cartoonist with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution?
Yeah, I was with the.
And what was that experience like?
No. I was interested in Atlanta Journal-Constitution because it gave me line work. See, I'm a cartoonist. I mean, not bragging, but I tell you that all directions you can go. You know, I like to do it all. I like to sketch. I can take a pencil or paper. I can do anything. In other words, maybe I am bragging, but the point is, the point what I'm trying to bring out is that it's easy to do what you want to do if you do it, if you try, if you put it on paper. If it can be put on paper, it can be done. And that's what I do. In other words, I don't hesitate.
Any other questions?
And hey, it had nothing to do with the Guinness Corporation, line drawing and so forth.
Where have you had major exhibitions? In what cities have you had major exhibitions?
What's that, please?
He was asking, what cities have you had major exhibitions in?
California, New York,
Detroit.
And a lot of that is in the catalog.
Texas,
South Carolina.
and several overseas.
Mr. Malone. Mr. Malone.
Mr. Malone, your people seem to have movement to them in your paintings. They seem to, okay, your people seem to have movement in them. They're out there running. Is there, and that's typical of a lot of your paintings. It's as though they're just moving on. And as I look at some of your work from 1946, it's the same kind of rhythm of movement. Is that, can you tell me about that? Am I making sense to you?
Rhythm and
It's a movement to them. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. What it is that I submitted something to high school of art, and they came back and said, "Hey, your work got rhythm." I said, "Well, hang my paintings then if they got rhythm." They're telling me that my painting got dance, and I don't know who this curator was, and he's talking about, "Oh, I love your work, and I like the way you formulate this and that," and he went on and on and on. I said, "Hell with that crap. Put my work on the wall." Don't be telling me how good my work is. Exhibit it and tell hey, don't tell me how you think it looks. Hang the paintings on the wall, and let me see what the patrons see. You know what the patrons call good on the wall. So that's the basic. So when she mentioned about picture rest painting, I said, well, let them rest on your wall.
Okay, this is more than a question. More than a question, mine is more like a comment and a thank you. This gentleman, I've been a quote unquote professional storyteller for like the last 25 years, since 1985, and I've known James Malone during that whole period. And every time we ran into each other over at the Winston Post Office, James would encourage me to keep doing my storytelling and keep writing and all of that. So after I bought No Job Dad a few years ago, And I wanted James to illustrate like children's story for me. And he literally told me, I'm committed for the next 5 years. So he said, if you can come back to me in about 5 or 6 years, I'll be able to help you with that, maybe. And so I see what you've been doing over that period of time. And so I just want to say thank you for like pushing me. And I'll call you next week to see if we can get to my book.
My name is Larry Walker. My comment. Wait a minute. Okay, I'm going to make a comment. It's mostly a comment for you guys about him. Okay, and you can translate this into short terms for him. Okay, don't worry about listening to this, James. You'll get it eventually. Years ago, I lived in Detroit, and that's where I first met James Malone. I graduated from Wayne State University. James Malone at the time was involved with this organization called the Contemporary Art Studios. And he and some of the other artists at the studio invited me to have an exhibition at the studio. This would have been my first exhibition following graduation. Wow. And I agreed to do this, and I was kind of young and naive, didn't know what to expect. I just assumed, I guess, that you bring your work, put it up in the gallery, and they did everything else. And that's kind of what happened. So I didn't even send out an invitation to my family. Consequently, none of my family came. So it was a good exhibition. I had a wonderful experience communicating with the artists who were there at the studio, and the work stayed there for a while, but it didn't get a lot of public play. And we kind of lost touch with each other somewhere along the way, and I wound up moving to California. And eventually, after about 20 years, I moved to Atlanta and discovered that James Malone is here in Atlanta. And we ran into each other somewhere along the way and reminisced about some of those early Detroit days. And I would occasionally see some of his cartoons, and occasionally we would have a conversation. And some of those conversations, he talked about painting people and people in the community, and he talked about the activity that people did and the rhythm that people had and the kind of enjoyment he felt by working with and looking at and seeing what was happening in the community. And in that context, the subject matters that he chose, the carnivals, the festivals, the card games, the activities on the street, those kind of activities suggested to him that he used colors that were related to the activity. That's the reason for the bright colors. The bright colors relate to the activity itself. So the reds, the yellows, the greens, the primary colors, and so forth were very useful to him in that regard. The other thing that he used a lot in his painting was a line, kind of a characteristic black line that shrouded the people, that moved back and forth into the surface of the painting, and that articulated some of the rhythm of the painting. At the same time, it carried on his background as a cartoonist. Cartoonists use line. Painters normally don't use a lot of line like that, where they outline the figure, but it carried over into his painting. So he was being true to himself as both an illustrator, a cartoonist, a painter, an observer of the community, and so forth. And those kinds of things are still prevalent in his work, and I applaud him for that. I applaud his longevity in the arts, and wish you another 5, 10, 20 years of good work.